Make no mistake, the new line will be well ready.
I'd have my real fiver on Gaelic Warrior and my free one on Champ Kylie.
His little face got up there and he just said those words.
It was a sexy watch.
I'm sure he hasn't ridden a Cheltenham Festival winner.
Very sexy, cool ride.
Talk amongst yourselves.
I won't back him for the Gold Cup.
Could be Constitution Hill's stiffest test so far.
Has he put himself into the top bracket of the Galopin des Champs, the Factor Fars? I still don't think so.
What a brilliant weekend we have just witnessed. I tell you what, it's been a bit of a slow start, but this episode we've got a lot to get stuck into. Which is delighted that I can say that Jonjo O'Neill Jnr. just take a little bit of time out to join us as a Betfred ambassador, because I want to speak to him first of all. But I know obviously Joel with his big Gaelic Warrior fanboy hat on, and Frankie's got a massive green because Constitution Hill is back this weekend. We've got a lot to reflect on, a lot to discuss. But as John's been good enough to take some time out, I'm going to start with him. And I think one of the races from a brilliant weekend was obviously you were involved. I know you were very happy on the ride, on the run of Iroko with Grand National, obviously his big aim. But I did think that you may have just chased down the King George winner. It was a small field, but it looked a good race, Adok. How did it ride?
Yeah, I was impressed with the winner. Obviously, he'd had plenty of time off. But, we went a fairly sedate gallop. And obviously my horse is more of a 3 mile plus horse. So it was probably run to suit the winner. But I was impressed with him. Listen, last year he was a very, very good novice, and it doesn't look like he's lost any of that ability. But I think probably he will have to step forward a lot, which he probably will. But I think he definitely will compared to, the horses Gaelic Warrior beat on Sunday.
And that's a key point, isn't it? I mean, we had a lot of King George trials. We had Django Bay winning impressively at Ascot. We had Gaelic Warrior and Factor File. I imagine one of them will come to Ascot, to Kempton, probably Gaelic Warrior, because he just seemed to prefer going right-handed. I just think one thing that impressed me was the jumping of the jukebox man. He was so accurate, and that can be such an asset around Kempton.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously he won the Grade 1 there last season. My only query probably is that he does have a tendency to jump left, and I know he got away with it obviously last year, but running in the King George is a very different kettle of fish to beating Highland, especially as Gaelic Rambler maybe touches a little bit right, which Kempton will suit. That would be my only query, but he's got speed for 2.5, and he stays well and he jumps well, so it's you're only just looking to find holes in him. He's pretty solid.
And just talk about your man. I mean, not only the gate race on Saturday, we go back to Kelso, his prep run last year when he bumped into Grey Dawn, and who himself looked pretty special, reversing that Betfair chase from a Royal Pagaille on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. Grey Dawning looked very good. Probably things were run to suit him a lot more this year. The ground wasn't half as testing as it was last year. Royal Pagaille, he's an absolute warrior, but probably needed the conditions slower, and he's nearly turning 12. So I suppose he was probably entitled to win like he did. But he was very impressive under a very cool ride from Harry. It looks like there's some really good 3 mile open chases now in the country, so it's exciting.
It is. And just a quick word on this weekend. I mean, obviously we've got the Hennessy meeting in Newbury, and obviously the Fighting Fifth. We've got 5 entered. Constitution Hill, a lot of talk of him. Nick Henderson obviously talking up again. I mean, just thoughts on as a jockey, the thoughts what's going to go through Nicko's head in this race. It's a race that he's won previously, but it's probably a deeper renewal with the new line and potentially Amsterdam both taking him on.
Yeah, 100%. I think it probably could be Constitution Hill's stiffest test so far. And obviously coming back after a disappointing spring, and he's going to have to be very, very ready, which I'd say he is. It sounded like he was at Worcester a couple of weeks ago, and he obviously galloped at Newbury last week. Now the reports were very good at Worcester, and he looked impressive at Newbury, but make no mistake, the new line will be well ready, and Amsterdam is a very high class horse, so I think it's going to be a very interesting race, very interesting tactically. I think Constitution Hill is fairly versatile, to be honest. You know, Nicko's made it on him in the entry hurdle over 2.5, and he's taken a lead. So it'll be interesting to see what the others do. I think more like. But I think if the old Constitution Hill comes back and he jumps, I still think it'll be very hard to beat. But he's got probably as many questions to answer for than he's ever done, and it will be a really, really hard race for him. But you know, Nicky's obviously got him back before. I see no reason why he couldn't do it again.
And we are just getting right back into the teeth of the national season now. And before I let you go, anything else from the weekend that really caught your eye, stood out? We talked about some of the King George potential pretenders, but we had the likes of Woodhoe and Lossiemouth. We had some real nice novices. Anything that you thought, what might be on that next time it runs?
I was really impressed with Cabral de Matan of Skelton's in Haydock. You know, obviously he had very good form last year, just got touched off in Scottish Champion Hurdle. And but, you know, to put a competitive field like that to bed off 140, I thought was very impressive. Obviously, it sounded like Dan thought that was going to be his last run in handicaps. And, you know, I think handicaps are probably out the water. But I was very impressed with him. 2.5 looks ideal for him at the minute, but if it sounded like if they were going to try to make him into a stayers horse, he could be very interesting. But I thought he was very, very impressive.
Yeah, they're not going to bother with the handicaps the way Harry rode him out, is it? The handicaps are way behind him now. He's only going to be graded action all the way. He was very impressive. John, thanks for joining us. We'll let you get on your way, and of course we'll hear plenty of you as well throughout this Road to Cheltenham series. So thanks, John, for taking his time out. Frankie, Joel, great to hear from Jonjo O'Neill Jnr. And obviously we'll talk about Iroko and Jukebox Man, but I know, Joel, you're a massive fan of Gaelic Warrior. You took him on at the weekend, and he made you look silly, but we've crabbed him before. We've wound you up and taken the mick. King George, favourites chance?
Well, it has to be now. I mean, out of the 3 horses at the weekend that I've jumped off, I jumped off Gaelic Warrior until 10 minutes before the off when the money started coming on, and I put some on Twitter. It was one of those comedy things that you probably get cancelled for now, where it was Willie Mullins, Rich Ritchie, and Paul Townend standing outside the Betfred shop with the money on and the ticket, because the money came. There was only 2 horses in the race, about fast or slow in there, because I really liked that for the King George. That was my early pick for the King George. But Gaelic Warrior, what a performance. I think it was a case of looking behind and going, I think we called this beforehand, what was 20 to 40% fit. A lot of people are calling it race of the season already, and other people are crabbing it, saying if you're getting excited by that, well, you've got a season to come. But I thought it was brilliant. It was a brilliant horse race, and really.
They said race for the ages, but the market said there was only going to be 2 in it. I know we have some very, very good horses, well beaten, and frankly, people looking into that a little bit too much, thinking they've just had a Gold Cup winner and fast or slow beaten 30 lengths behind. But it was like we knew that was a starting point for them, and these 2 were the ones that were going to battle it out.
Yeah, exactly. And it was probably exaggerated by the fact that Gaelic Warrior set a strong pace, because if you were on one of the more staying horses that is having their first start of the season, then you're not going to go and chase Gaelic Warrior, who's going relatively quickly, are you? You're going to bide your time, get them jumping, and see how the race pans out. So the winning margin was probably exaggerated by the pace set. So we all said it before, and it makes sense afterwards. And trainers are very open about that, especially with their graded horses, that if you are working back from Cheltenham, then you're not going to be going nuts in a 2.5 miler on the first start of the season, are you? So it made sense somewhat. Yeah, it was probably exaggerated by the pace and also by 2 pretty big performances. I did think it made for a great watch, though. You know, you only needed the 2 to watch to enjoy it, didn't you? Didn't matter what the rest of the field was doing. You were pretty much watching, is Gaelic Warrior going to hang on, and is Fast or Slow going to be able to hunt him down? And when Fast or Slow came there, I've got to admit, watching it, I thought he's definitely going to go past him here. I think most people would have. And then, somehow Gaelic Warrior and Paul Townend's managed to get him back up, which credit probably goes to the jockey there as well. It was a great. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a cracker.
Matt, you're such a miserable git. You're so miserable. You're sitting there. I mean, I generally was one of those, and I'm watching it at my in-laws, and I was making a lasagna, and I had to stop everything. And generally, people go around the telly and watch it, and if they're not bothered about horse racing or something, that was hammer and tongs, and it was great. It didn't matter if it was a class 12 at Wolverhampton. When you see those like that, I thought it was brilliant. And if you're not getting off on this sport, I'd press exit now, Matt, and leave. Go and be a civil servant or something. Well, to be honest, from what I've heard, you're getting fired on Wednesday when the budget comes out. Anyway.
Thank you. No, it was a great race. I'm just saying that people think, they were miles clear of the rest, but obviously the rest, that was all the starting point. I mean, I know the way you're thinking. Now he's not going to go out to 20-1 because he's been slammed in that race for the Gold Cup, is he? People kind of knew. But look, for me, Gaelic Warrior, he did make a couple of mistakes again. Kempton, they'll go flat out, as they always do. Interesting from Jonjo Jnr. there saying about the jukebox man edging left. He might not get away with that. So does that bring Django Bay, who's impressive at Ascot, beating Les Francais, Joel, out of sight? Does that bring him into the mix as well? I mean, it was a cracking weekend. Where do you sit with the Ascot chase? Because I thought it brought up more questions than answers. Maybe Gidley Park could be one to take out of it. Maybe he needed it.
Yeah, I think Gidley Park definitely needed it. I thought the Nichols horse, Pictory, looked like it wasn't his day, or there was something wrong. And I'm not trying to be controversial. It was a very soft ride and not ridden. It was a muddling race at the start, wasn't it? Francais obviously wanted to lead, didn't lead. So we don't know if that horse is bled again, or it's just an Oxo horse. It's not good enough. But I was confident, and we put Django Bay up on the Punters Guide on Friday, and it was just because there were so many negatives about the others. But I thought he did it really easily, and for a stable that's not flying, has not had many runners, I was really impressed. And I think if you were Nicko, you'd be confident at least 3 out.
Joel, Frankie?
Yeah, interesting one, isn't it? It's sort of funny to weigh up the form. I loved how he jumped the last, though. Pinged the last, but just brushed through the top of it. It looked like he was taken to a hurdle over the last fence. For all that it was a successful weekend, Joel, you did put up Django Bay. I thought Pictory would have won a big race, and in hindsight, maybe it was a bit more obvious with Pictory being a 10-year-old and potentially on his way out, and Django Bay a festival winner already and on his way up. So, yeah, who knows where the ceiling is? He is an exciting one. He's definitely thrown his hat into the mix. But I wouldn't say he's improved to a level of Gaelic Warrior yet. Gaelic Warrior's won all sorts of trips and tracks and against good horses, and Pictory and a non-firing Les Francais and a big clumsy Gidley Park is not up to the level of King George standard yet. So I think he's got to kick on again from what he did at the weekend, despite winning really well.
Are we in the camp here, Matt? Are we in the camp of fighting fifth this weekend? We'll obviously talk about that in a bit. And Constitution Hill. There's loads of people who say I couldn't back Constitution.
What's his smile? His little face going up there, and I just said those words.
I couldn't. People said I couldn't back Constitution Hill with Stoner money and whatever. Les Francais this morning, 25-1 for the King George, right? And but again, this is where you're laughing. 25-1. This is a horse that will go out and win by 40 lengths, hard held from the front, or will give up halfway around, spit his dummy out, and 25-1. Sure. To me, that's a tenner each way, getting your 4 placed or whatever, sticking it under your pillow and seeing what happens on that day.
Yeah, it's not the wildest shout, is it?
It's not the most stupid shout, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you something else as well in a minute. I'm going to come to all in good time. 3-5 on the King George now. Then I know it's the road to Cheltenham, road to Kempton for just a couple of seconds, but 3-5 on the King George. Joel, Les Francais.
Yeah. No, I would have gone each way, fast or slow. I had it down between fast or slow and Les Francais as the target of both of those. And after the weekend, obviously with no confidence, you could back Les Francais. But fast or slow did out wrong, was obviously not fit and stayed on for third. I really like fast or slow, and it's still a big price. So I would have me 3-5 on fast or slow.
Frankie?
I'd have my real 5 on Gaelic Warrior and my 3-1 on Champ Kylie.
Well, I text you saying I thought we saw the King George winner beat the Grand National winner, and I stick with that. But I think the
really?
Yeah, I just it's the way I know John said he edge left, but he got away with it in the Cordo start. He's just so quick. Quick. And Bud Paulin said he's a freak. He said he didn't expect him to win like he did because he wasn't fully fit. He left him quite a bit to work on. So I think there's improvement there to come again. I thought that could be a really good race. Time will tell. Just talk about Grey Dawn and how impressive was he, first of all, John? Well, Frankie's stolen you. There you are. Quickly. How
What's
great on how for you?
But very, I don't know, is impressed the right word? It was a sexy watch. It was, it was great to watch, but impressed, I guess so. But a couple of question marks. How much would he have found it off the bridle? Unsure. He did come there swinging, didn't he, last year, over that sort of staying haydock trick. I was watching it going, I want to see what happens when he's asked. I want to see. And then obviously, it was super easy. Royal Guy is, 25 years old and didn't have his ground, and it wasn't the strongest field. So impressed, yes. Very sexy, cool ride. Loved it. Loved the chanting as they were coming back in. Again, it kind of goes back to the same comment. Has he put himself into the top bracket of the Galloping des Champs, the Factor Files? I still don't think so. Okay.
Don't see many grade ones won cheekily like that, though, Joel, do you?
No, you don't. And I think I messaged you say, just for funniness, them horses, them bridle poses that find absolutely nothing. And you're there, ready for the helicopter or whatever it is.
You'd never not be nervous watching that, would you?
Because you're there, you cruise up.
You're absolutely swinging, but you're still thinking,
finds nothing. Look, myself and Matt put up 80 kilo at the weekend. That was a no-show from the start. I think you got to put a line through that, or has had too much racing. I don't know. Might need another break. I don't know. I'm not looking at excuses. Royal Guy, we said, drifted again massively at the weekend. And I thought all credit was there. Stays in training, goes to Peter Marsh. Said this morning we'll not run in the Gold Cup. We'll just take it race by race by race. Grey Dawning, again, looked really impressive. But if we're looking at it, we're beating a horse who's 12 next month.
I won't back him for the Gold Cup.
No, I think that was his Gold Cup, wasn't it? I think they wanted him after last year. They wanted him bang on for that, more prize money. I mean, will he go King George? He didn't enjoy that last year. Will it be Kelso in Aintree again? Will he miss the Gold Cup? I don't know. But like you just said about LA Francais, Joel, all of a sudden, Haiti Claus 50-1 for the Gold Cup in a race that you can totally put a red line through. He didn't want to line up. He was pulling and reefing. He didn't jump very well. We know he stays. We know he loves Cheltenham. We know he goes well in the spring. There's still lots of positives there for him going forward. But he looked a massive price on the back of one run that clearly wasn't his running.
Yeah, this is my time of year when you're looking at stuff, and you've got to look at some of those horses. It's normally the ones who missed Cheltenham and gone to Aintree, or are flopped at Cheltenham and gone to Aintree, and you think it's a second bite of the cherry. So I really like that. Interesting to see what Sean Bowen would ride. I presume he still hasn't ridden the Cheltenham Festival winner, has he, Sean Bowen? I think is that the case?
Ben Jones rode 80 kilo, didn't he?
Yeah, I'm sure he hasn't ridden a Cheltenham Festival winner.
That's a wild stat if it's true.
No, we were talking about this last year, and now you might be right. Suck amongst yourselves.
No, yeah, I might be right, but it'd be interesting to see what he goes and rides. And going back to Ben Jones, you just mentioned, he wasn't riding today at Ludlow, I think it was, because he was ill. I think after winning at the weekend, I'd have still out. You know what I mean?
Class.
Right. Anything else from the weekend you want to discuss?
Was it right?
Yes, you were right. Yeah, Sean Bowen not at a festival when he goes. Ben Jones rode 80 kilo that day, didn't he? No, riders, wasn't it? It was. I don't know. It was Ben Jones. Yeah, it was professionals now. I'm all over the place.
There's plenty for the weekend. Woodhoh, she was impressive, wasn't she?
Yeah, we're going to come on to her in a bit. Thanks for looking at your running order, Frankie.
Is there anything else from the weekend I wanted to discuss? I thought, you've forgotten half the show. I better mention it.
We're going to come on to her because I know you want to wax lyrical about her. I knew you'd be impressed. And she's going to be a horse in focus for this show. Let's talk about next weekend then. The question trying to get to John was, how would you feel as a jockey, Nicko de Boinville? Put yourself in his shoes. He's got this horse who's been an absolute star. Didn't all go to plan last season, and now he's starting to be talked up. Newbury last year, he had that poor gallop. This year, everything's gone swimmingly. But everyone now's thinking he's back to his best. But this is a deeper race than he's had in the Fighting Fifth in previous years. He's taken on some bona fide horses in the New Lion and Amsterdam. If the bubbles burst here, where do you go with him?
Wolverhampton.
You probably don't. If he has to be in a race, doesn't he? Like, he can get beat, but he can't be tailed. Otherwise, that could be the end of his racing career. I would say if he's completely tailed off, you wouldn't want to try him many more times, would you? He has to look like he's enjoying it, doesn't he? Because he didn't over in Ireland. It just looks terrible. Whereas prior to that, at Aintree, he was banging the race against two top class mares with Lottie Mouse and Woodhoh, and all right, he fell too early to know, but from the point up until he fell, he was racing as good as both of those mares, which are top level. They're both Grade 1 horses. So bar Punchestown, Aintree, okay, he fell, and so at Cheltenham, and you can't win races falling, but his engine and his enthusiasm still look to be there. So yeah, you've got to see a bit of that, haven't you? Got to see him look like he's enjoying it.
But I think so. I know we're fans of the new line as well, Joel.
Yeah. I just want to point out on Constitution Hill is it's not the massive excuses already, but Nicky was saying he's not a fan of the new hurdles that they'll be using. The comedy ones. I've obviously not ridden over them. I've not touched them. I've not seen them in real life. But I don't like the way they look on the telly. The foam padded ones and whatever. And Nicky was already saying not a massive fan of these new hurdles they brought in. So there's your early excuse. If Constitution Hill.
Go on. I was just I was changing subject a bit back to Nicko just to say how he might be feeling. Would there be a tiny bit less pressure because, he's been beaten enough times now that it's nothing new, is it? If he's beaten, he's fallen twice.
I think there's more pressure because of what they've been saying. They've been building him up again. They've been building him up into his back and.
That does baffle me a little bit.
If he goes and wins at the weekend, which obviously he very well could do, all of a sudden he's got to be a shoo-in for the champion hurdle. Surely he's beaten two of his main rivals. State Man's out. He's got to be an absolute shoo-in for that. But I just feel like they've been talking up, and I'm just thinking. Nicko was thinking, I just wish they'd just. He's the public. I know public. There's a massive opinion about him, and everyone wants to talk about him. But just keep a lid on it and just see how he gets on at the weekend.
Yeah, they could have said just that, couldn't they? But I don't know. I guess they say what they see. You've got to give credit for that. If he's flying at home and you're asked how is he, and then you're going to reply, well, he's flying at home.
Not just Constitution Hill this weekend. I think we're going to see a return of another horse of questions to answer in Ballyburn. I know you mentioned him last week, Joel, and I think you had a couple of nasty things to say about him. But somebody did point out, who obviously watches us regularly, that after his chasing debut, you were waxing lyrical about him.
Well, as you know, if you've watched this from the start, people can change their minds. For the last, 3 seasons, you two have been on about Gaelic Warrior, jumping into the Guinness tent and doing all that. And suddenly, Frankie's having his free fiver on the King George. You see it as it is. It's like, right, I'm all for with analogies and whatever. I go and pick up Matt in a pub, and it's 10 years ago, right? And he looks young, and he's slim, and he's got cheekbones. And you look at the state of him 10 years later, and you go, I liked him at the time. And that's exactly what happens. I'm quite proud of that one.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, more than 10 years ago since I was slim. Let's talk about the horse in focus then. I want to mention it because I know Frankie's a massive fan of Woodhoh. I think one of the points in this race was that once they really turned the taps on, Danny Gilligan never really got concerned. Celtic Dino and Polish Charm, wasn't it? Alta Valley travelling well. And he's about 5-6 lengths off them turning in. Never panicked, knew what he had, and she won so easily. A red-hot horse in form, with form franked, and she just swatted him aside.
Yeah, she was class, wasn't she? She was class, and the ride made it even more impressive because you could tell that he must have just felt like, I am winning this from a long way out. She was a cut above the rest, and I guess the question is she mare's hurdle bound? Is that cemented 2.5 miles? Gordon really wasn't giving much away in the post-race interviews. Could she go stayers hurdle, or who knows what her targets will be? But I thought she was really impressive. If you look at her career, it's outstanding where she started. She has completely climbed the ranks and won a lot of races on the way. I remember seeing her win at Newbury in some pretty average race right at the start of her career. And I think it's a good group of sort of friends of Gordon's, and all come together and they're having the time of their life with her. So she is exciting. She just seems to get better and better and better.
Yeah, so it's the friend of Gordon. So Gordon, if you're watching, right, and you get one of those that you can't sell that turns out to be like that, give us a bell. We'll put 200 quid in each, and we'll have her. Like, I think I put her up as a mare's hurdle. Normally, we're always going, you've got to go for the big one. There's only a big one. The mare's is a waste of time, and you can dodge all this. I put her up as a mare's hurdle. I backed her for the mare's hurdle before that race. So let's hope she goes to the mare's hurdle and wins. I think the day was the day for Celtic Dino, whatever you want to say. That was absolutely smashed, wasn't it, off the board? And Dylan was riding it like a man possessed. So the money was down. I hope that race hasn't left a mark. But
could he be a Cheltenham handicapper, a Coral Cupper, or a county? Not sure what his mark will be after the weekend, but it's not out of the question, is it?
Don't know how the horse
in the
race, but we'll need probably need a massage and at least a couple of weeks off just to chill out. But he's always good at getting them right. Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm sure the horse will go to Cheltenham. But
Lossiemouth in the champion hurdle. Woodhoh to win the
match. Yeah, I mean, I'd have loved to have seen him flash again at the weekend in the Morgan. I mean, Lossiemouth, she just won whatever the prize money was for basically a racecourse gallop. So
what we're saying, lads, what we're really saying is Lossiemouth was incredibly impressive. Woodhoh was super impressive. Constitution Hill fell upsides both of them at Aintree last season. He's just a final piece in the puzzle this weekend.
Oh.
Look at that.
Coming up next time.
Just can't get enough of it, has he? Right, yeah. Obviously, join us on the Punters Guide. It's going to be a fun one. Newbury and Newcastle look forward to, and obviously the fight in fifth. A small but select field will be dissected. A brilliant race as well. Frankie, I know he's going to be talking Constitution Hill.
Yeah, I know. Not Constitution Hill. I jumped too early with Woodhoh, but I was too late with just a couple of horses that I thought were of note. We mentioned Celtic Dino. We mentioned Cabra du Matin. Nappers Hill actually ran all right for 2 years off the track, I thought. Might be worth keeping an eye on next time out. They would have gone easy on him, and he jumped well, travelled well, and then just didn't finish off his race, but warranted after 2 years off on the track. And then one, which probably got missed on Sunday because of all the attention on the John Durkan, but at Cork, Carla Conti making her chase debut took to fences really well. Maybe she might be one to keep an eye on going forwards and could end up in maybe a mare's chase at the festival as it is Road to Cheltenham. I thought she was really impressive, Gordon Elliott.
Yeah, she certainly was. And I tell you what, we must, I know we've got the Punters Guide on Friday, we must talk about your incredible run. We both fancy Electric Mason. Nice winner there for the Punters. Top of the bill, 18-1. You went crazy on Saturday.
I know, it's a shame I'm not retired yet. Don't get me wrong, there were enough odds-on shots in there, but I said at the start of the Punters Guide, didn't I? It might be it looks relatively straightforward, and then thankfully got a bit of luck with two prices as well. So yeah, sometimes we do get it right. It was a good weekend. 7 of 9, I think, with a cheeky one thrown in on the Road to Cheltenham as well.
Yes, at
Nabianca this week. So I've had 2 back-to-back weeks. I had Low de Sud, didn't I, on the Road to Cheltenham, early shout, and then an early shout this week. I don't think there's one. It's just got to be Constitutional, hasn't it?
That's what I said. There is one. Yeah, it is quite clear. Joel, anything else that we missed from the weekend that certainly caught your eye?
It was Monday, and it is Monday today as we're recording this, and it was the. Did you see the first race at Kempton today? 12:25.
Yes.
Harry Redknapp's all.
Harry Redknapp pull us again.
Yeah, and he turns up at Kempton. Sean Bowen booked because Ben Jones is ill after celebrating all weekend after the win. Sonic Pioneer. Yeah, 14-length winner off the flat, first run. And interviews after.
Not only a 14-length winner from the front.
Yes.
So normally they set it up for something else, but to kick off the bend in rain-softened ground.
Yes.
And the way you hurdled as well.
You don't see many come off the flat first run like that. It's normally like X-rated stuff on it, isn't it? On a Monday, you're like, geez. And Harry gave away the tactics before the race as well. We'll try and make all terrific lad, Sean Bowen, terrific lad. Goes and wins it, 14 lengths. So it might be one, if you start seeing the market move for the Triumph Hurdle, that's Harry Redknapp with a couple of pints in him, going round the bookies later on. Oh, terrific lad. Have a fiver on for Crouchy. Here's one for Luca.
I am going to throw a rogue one in, but could end up super short. But Pagan at Market Raisin on Wednesday. That's the rogue shout. Worked at Newbury on the Gallops morning with maybe an eye on the Newbury Gold Cup, but it's gone to Market Raisin instead on Wednesday. But may well be odds on. There's no prices yet.
We've got Marsha Wren taking her on as well. She's obviously very progressive last year as well, and she was taking out the Betfred chase on the declaration stage. So we have it all around. I thought it was interesting for Began that Harry Cobden went for that one rider at Carlisle recently.
Yeah, and he's booked again to go to Market Raising.
Yeah, well, it's probably significant. Probably big designs on her, I guess, Mare's Chase bound at the Cheltenham Festival if all goes to plan. Right, boys, join us Friday. Don't forget, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and you might get 7 winners. You won't get 7 because there's only 6 races we want to look at on Friday. But even so, Frankie's on fire. Is it Joel's turn to go in this week? It's a brilliant fight in 5th. We've got the Coral Gold Cup or the Hennessy as well to you and I. Some real great competitive racing at Newbury. What a weekend it was. Brilliant performances. We are really in the teeth of the national season. Thanks to Jonjo O'Neill Jnr. for his time as well. Great to hear his spin around on Irico, who's well fancied for the Grand National. We'll hear more from him on the run-up to the greatest show on turf. Thanks for watching.